Ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're working on a Stihl weed eater. I was out and about buying mowers and stuff, and I went to this young lady's house and was looking at mowers she had for sale and saw this weed eater sitting in the shed against a wall. And she said it hadn't been run forever and ever, but she was willing to sell it along with it. And I looked at it, and it's super light, and I might even make this one mine. It's got a lot of compression, and I think it's got good promise. So all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and it really is what we're working for. Let's get started. So she looks like she's got good promise. She's got a ton of compression, and I think it's happy. The airbox is on upside down. So I guess he gave it a shot at this one a little bit. It's supposed to go this way. So let's get her apart and see what we got. There we go. Okay, and on this one, it looks like we're going to have to pull the cover off to easily get to the carburetor. That's not a big deal on this bad boy. Some of the more modern Stihls, it takes an act of Congress to get them apart. This is definitely not one of the more modern Stihls, though. Woohoo, enough leaves and whatnot to start your own farm. Okay, very nice. So if you're working on yours at home, even though this is pretty dirty right now, take pictures, because this is not going to be obvious, and which fuel line goes where is not going to be obvious later. So good pictures like here and here and here will be super helpful for you, especially if you have to wait overnight for parts. So we're going to go on the assumption these fuel lines are junk and go ahead and cut them. And this, I do believe this will hold still for me. There's a screw that holds this on, but I think I can get it off without too much work. Let me switch sides with you for just a second. What I'm trying to do is accelerate it and hold the cable still. And there we go. So there you have it. Let me clean this up and we'll be back in a second. She cleaned up really nice. I just sprayed her down a little bit, and it looks like we got a pretty good carburetor here. Carburetor looks better than the rest of the machine does. Okay, now make sure that you take a lot of pictures when you do this part, because this is super important. I'm going to scoot that out of the way. I'm going to take this off, and you can see our little diaphragm has a considerable bubble in it on both of them, so that won't pump fuel the way it could. And the top part looks nice. So now let's go under here and see what we got here. Okay, let's get the primer out of the way. And you can see we've actually got some material in here. This carburetor is pretty clogged. Now, if you run into a case like that and you're doing yours at home, if you've got an ultrasonic, go ahead and put it through the ultrasonic. If you don't have an ultrasonic, run away. Just replace the carburetor. Because if it's got something that was in the gas that went through the carburetor, it's going to clog passages within here, and you're never going to have a chance if you don't have something to clean it up really well. So we're going to check our screen. Our screen looks brand new. It's actually a pretty good looking carburetor. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and take these and run them through the ultrasonic, and we'll see in a little while. Okay, let's go ahead and take advantage of the time waiting for that to go ahead and do fuel lines on this. These fuel lines are ultra stiff. They'd fail soon enough, and they'd probably leak all over the place. Yeah, she's almost coming. Everything is really stiff, as you can see. Yeah, there's no way that'd be workable. Okay, tank looks nice and clean, so let's run some new lines. Now, those of you that have been here before know this is a pretty easy peasy little system. Now, the Stihl tank is a little bit of an angle compared to most of them. So let's get you out of the way. So we're going to have to use this to nudge our wire to get it to go where we want it to go. There we go. Now, we're going to cut a taper on this, as usual. We're going to thread it on our wire. Try not to poke our finger while we do it. Okay, I'm not sure if that grabbed well enough. Yeah, it looks like it. Let's ease it back through, turn the corner, and pull it through. As usual, these rubber stoppers are usually a whole lot easier than pulling it straight through the plastic on the tank. Let's put the fuel filter in. Now we're just going to watch the fuel filter. We're going to eye it. And now it's sitting in the bottom, more or less in the middle. We're going to give a guesstimate on the length. And remember, when you're doing the length on these, you can always cut shorter. You can't cut longer. So don't be chintzy with the fuel line. Okay, there's our fuel. Let's get our return line. There we go. Now we're going to cut a new taper, only because that taper already took a little abuse going through. And it's not uncommon to do this and have the fuel line jump off while you're doing it. So if it does, don't sweat it. Just do it again. Oh, look at that. That one jumped off before it even got in. I jinxed myself. There we go. That should hold up. Now we're going to feed it in. Apparently we're not going to feed it in. This one's just at a perfect angle where it keeps knocking it off the loop. Okay, let's try that again from the top. By the time we're done with this, the carburetor should be getting close to done. Okay. Let's thread her on. Try to thread her on in a way where she doesn't pop off again. Let's give her a little slack. You can see her coming up through the hole. Now that she's through a little bit, we're going to grab her with pliers and pull her the rest of the way through. Now this is just a vent line, so it does not have to be in the fuel. It just simply has to return to the tank and be long enough to make sure they don't pull it through. Okay, let's start off and get our new plastics inside the new carburetor. Now we do this, the carburetor is still warm. We do this, we're going to scoot that out of the way. There we go. And then we look around the edge to make sure that everything looks like it's lined up right before we put the screw back in. Now, on some of the newer weed eaters and things, I always replace the carburetor because, let's face it, even the new Stihls and Echoes are using cheap carburetors. So it doesn't really matter much. Okay, now we're going to get our diaphragm back in place, our new diaphragm. Our old one's here somewhere. And that's okay. There we go. And when you're doing this, definitely take your time. You're not in a hurry. There's no race. And if you try to hurry and miss something, you won't necessarily know it until you've got it all together. And if you don't do this very often, refer back to the pictures that you took taking it apart when you put it back together. And so we're treating this like anything else, where we're giving it just a little bit of snug all the way around. Now we'll go back to the original bolt, give it another quarter turn, and we'll dance around. Give each one another quarter turn. And now we should be pretty close to done now. It should be pretty tight. Okay, tight, 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 and tight. Okay, let's put her on and see what she does. Okay, let's get our carburetor on. Now you see you've got your negative pressure here, and that, just to oversimplify it, is for practical purposes your fuel pump. You see you've got a matching hole here, and the pressure impulses from the exhaust pump the fuel in the carburetor. So we're going to take our return line and put it up on the tube up by the primer bulb. And if you do this and it does not appear to be priming when you press the primer bulb, which is technically a purge bulb on this, but if it doesn't seem to be going, or if it appears as though the fuel is not moving towards the vent, which is the secondary one, then you've crossed your lines probably. If you cross your lines, don't lose any sleep over it. Just uncross them and keep moving. Trust me, it happens to everybody. There's two kinds of mechanics, the ones that occasionally cross lines and the ones that lie about occasionally crossing lines. There we go. That's back in place. Let's see. Look at that. Looks nice. Looks nice. So everything looks promising. Okay, let's toss our airbox on. And the choke is supposed to be on this side of it. It was on the other side before, but whatever. That's not the worst thing I've seen today. No, I didn't say this week. It's not the worst thing I've seen today. Because, of course, when we do a video, the stuff you guys get to see is the stuff we make videos of. It's not everything we have go through. Sometimes the fixes are just too boring to bother with. Okay, that screw just doesn't want to go on. So we're going to do one of our old tricks. We're going to put the screw on the end of a magnet and use that to start it. Cool, huh? All right, when I say screw the nut. Okay, let's check the choke. Choke looks good. Let's put some fuel in her and pump her up and see what we've got. Okay, do you feel lucky? That sounds promising. Okay, we'll probably have to adjust the carburetor a little bit. Okay, I went ahead and opened the door. Okay, I went ahead and opened the door so I don't suffocate. We're going to start by going quarter turn out on the low side. And we're going to leave the choke off and try it. That was close. And one of the hazards of old age, our choke lever just broke. Gonna go another half turn, no choke. Another half turn. Oh, now we're getting close. We're gonna go almost a quarter turn. Let's go another quarter turn, and we're not going to touch the gas this time. Okay, full choke with a broken choke lever. Now we're somewhere in the neighborhood now. Okay, we're going to turn the idle up a little. Just so she doesn't stall. Now we're adding more fuel to the mix. Now let's take the high side and adjust it a little. Yep, I think that was the wrong adjustment. Oh, I see we got a line off of the coil. And she wasn't turning off because there was a line missing from the coil. So she sounds pretty good. Oh. Perfect. So if you decide to rebuild yours, make sure you use quality parts. The metering diaphragm and that little fuel gasket, it's important that you get a good one. If you buy the cheapest Chinese ones you can get on Amazon, you're basically building a Chinese carburetor. The blocks are pretty much the same between one of ours and one of theirs. So this one's going to have a special for sale sign on it. It's going to say, for sale, Echo Weed Eater. I'm keeping this one for myself. So all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. If you made it this far, you might as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.